Good morning, everyone. This is Mar Bodie again. It's day 38 of my response to COVID-19 crisis. Trying to kind of use this as an opportunity to teach, really, to teach the Dharma, teach Buddhism, and because lots of people are going to be in a way not with lots of space actually to hear if they can come into contact with this. So I just thought, it's a really great opportunity to express some ideas in Buddhism and also to share some of my own thinking as well. So it's been fantastic, really, just doing that over the last 37 sessions I've done. And I feel really kind of grateful to have the platform. I mean, if we'd gone back to the 90s, there wouldn't be an internet. You couldn't do this. So the Canadian psychologist Jordan Peterson talks about the internet as being, like YouTube as being the new Gutenberg. It's like the invention of the printing press. So it just allows all sorts of things to be communicated to the whole world. So I feel very, very grateful that that's one of the positive sides of technology that's around. Yeah. So this week I've been looking at ritual and devotion. So in a way, like religion and some of the themes around that. So what we normally do in the session is I talk a bit, and then usually we do some body work, and then to get our bodies into a good state to then meditate, and then do a bit of meditation, and then carry on with the theme afterwards. For roughly an hour or something like that, the whole class. So 2 days ago, I introduced ritual and talked about a kind of various rituals that we did around the Manchester Buddhist Centre to kind of try and put it on the agenda more. What we were trying to do, to bring Buddhism to the people of Manchester who wanted it, who were interested in it, and so we kind of, I led a ritual where we went out into the city in cars, and we traced Buddhist symbols around the city. And what this represented for us was that the city isn't just bricks and mortar. It's not just material things. It's a universe of potential, of spiritual potential. So people can have the possibility of working on their own mental states and bodies and everything, so that they can bring about more happiness for themselves and others. If they come into contact with that, and if they those sorts of teachings. So it's just, and I think for me it really helped expand my my view of what we were doing, what possibilities. So sometimes you have to imagine something extreme in order to move a bit further along the path that you want to do. So you imagine that all beings are out there, and you're going to help, try and help them. But it maybe helps you to help a few more beings than you would normally. And I went into a little bit of theory around symbolism. What symbolism is, and introduced the idea of a symbol being a pretend object that isn't reality, but it does represent a reality that's ineffable. So that we cannot reach otherwise. So the Buddha is a symbol of the Buddha statue is a symbol of enlightenment, but we don't take it literally and think, oh, the Buddha wouldn't have had a bump on his head. We see it as a route through which our imaginations can reach towards what it might be to be enlightened. And it's like that with any symbol, you know, any symbol's the same. It's pointing towards some sort of thing that's beyond itself, which cannot be otherwise encompassed. Yeah. So, yeah, we listened to the Triratna Buddhist order kind of chanting the Padmasampha invocation. That was nice to share a bit of the order with you. And then on Wednesday, yesterday, I looked into sacred space. So, you know, the fact that when we have a temple, then, you know, whatever religion it is, it's to delineate a particular, like, a view that's being promulgated there, you know, so it's like a separate space that's carved out from our normal life, you know, that is like dedicated to that particular religion. And I talked about respect between religions. So, you know, how respect meaning to look again. So it's like you know, we allow other people to have different views, and you know, and often their views are represented symbolically, maybe by their dress, like the burqa, you know, in Islam, and that, yeah, it's a matter of respecting the fact that, you know, people have different views, and that they are trying to do something with their lives through that religion, yeah. And then we make our own decision about what we do, what we're interested in. So, you know, from a Buddhist point of view, you know, commitment is an individual matter. You know, it's a matter for the person themselves. Yeah, and yeah. So I talked about aesthetics yesterday, and how you know, like art galleries and things like these days, you've got some very the modern art minimalism has influenced architecture, and so you get some really kind of beautiful spaces now that are kind of reflective spaces. So think of the Rothko rooms in the Tate Britain, Tate Modern, as a kind of a modern kind of reflective space. And yeah. And I've talked about the idea of contemplation, what that is. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the idea of worship and of bowing, salutation, and I'm going to try and talk around that a little bit. So, what in Buddhism you have. This will be the right way around on YouTube. You have what's called a puja. So puja it just means worship. So a puja is a devotional ceremony, and so worship, in a way, if we looked at the root of the word worship, it just means the root is just worth. So when you worship something, it's just like you're saying this is a value. It's not, I think, seen from a Buddhist point of view, it's not like you give your power over to that thing, whatever it is. It's like you sort of saying this is a value. And in the Sevenfold Puja, which is the main devotional text within Triratna Buddhism, you have 7 different sections. It's what's called sevenfold, and each of the sections Sangharakshita talks about as bringing about different moods. I think for me, a way of looking at the puja is it's almost like a play or something. It's like a drama. That has a sequence to it, and you can think of it as in the first section, which is about worship, which is called worship, you recite verses that are with Mandarava, blue lotus, and jasmine, with all flowers pleasing and fragrant, with garlands skillfully woven. I pay honour to the princes of the sages, so worthy of veneration. So it's like you're bringing offerings to the Buddha and other Buddhist figures, and it's like you're trying to bring in that aspect. You're trying to bring to mind the transcendental. And then in the second section, so we're just going to go to here for now. What happens is you start chanting a mantra, and it's usually the Avalokiteshvara mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, and then people will go up and make offerings to the shrine, and offering often incense or night lights or whatever, flowers if they want, and the mantra is like creating a sacred space for that to happen. It's like it's representing. It's like bringing in it's a sound symbol for Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, and so within that mantra, you go and make the offering, and people will bow to the shrine and make the offering, and then maybe they bow a few times. So, and then after that follows the salutation verse in call and response. So, as many atoms as there are in the 1,000 million worlds, so many times I make reverent salutation to all the Buddhas of the three eras, to the Siddharma, and to the excellent community. I pay homage to all the shrines and places in which the Bodhisattvas have been. I make profound obeisance to the teachers and those to whom respectful salutation is due. So it's like, this is the bit where we're saying there's something about you that I want to learn from, and so we'll go into this a bit later on. Becoming receptive to the influence of those transcendental figures, so it's a bit like opening up ourselves up to be influenced. So it's a natural thing that first of all you bring something to mind, and then you come into a relationship with it. So bowing is just really, prostrating is really common in Buddhism. So here's an image of a Zen monk, and the famous Zen teacher called Shunryo Suzuki Roshi, who established the San Francisco Zen Center. He's got a short article in Tricycle magazine, and he says after Zazen, so Zazen is sitting meditation, we bow to the floor 9 times. So it's very ritualistic Zen, like my friend Paramandu leads lots of retreats in Triratna. He often bows to his meditation cushions that he's been sitting on after he's had a sit, and leaves them very tidy. So there's something about there's something about respectful about being ritualistic about things. Suzuki says, by bowing, we are giving up ourselves. We give up ourselves. To give up ourselves means to give up our dualistic ideas. So there's no difference between Zazen practice, meditation, and bowing. Usually, to bow means to pay our respects to something which is more worthy of respect than ourselves. But when you bow to the Buddha, you should have no idea of Buddha, you just become one with Buddha. You are already Buddha himself. This is the idea of Buddha nature. When you become one with Buddha, one with everything that exists, you find the true meaning of being. When you forget all your dualistic ideas everything becomes your teacher, and everything can be the object of worship. When everything exists within your big mind, all dualistic relationships drop away. There's no distinction between heaven and earth, man and woman, teacher and disciple. Sometimes a man bows to a woman, sometimes a woman bows to a man, sometimes the disciple bows to the master, sometimes the master bows to the disciple. A master who cannot bow to his disciple cannot bow to Buddha. Sometimes the master and disciple bow together to Buddha. Sometimes we may bow to cats and dogs. In your big mind, which is your enlightened mind, everything has the same value. Everything is Buddha himself. You see something or hear a sound, and there you have everything just as it is. In your practice, you should accept everything as it is, giving to each thing the same respect given to a Buddha. Here there is Buddhahood. Then Buddha bows to Buddha, and you bow to yourself. This is the true bow. Bowing is a very serious practice. You should be prepared to bow even in your last moment. Even though it is impossible to get rid of our self-centered desires, we have to do it. Our true nature wants us to. If you do not have a firm conviction of big mind in your practice, your bow will be dualistic. When you are just yourself, you bow to yourself in its true sense, and you are one with everything. Only when you are you yourself can you bow to everything in its true sense. Bowing is a very serious practice. You should be prepared to bow even in your last moment when you can do anything except bow. You should do it. This kind of conviction is necessary. Bow with this spirit, and all the precepts, all the teachings are yours, and you will possess everything within your big mind. So this is like, so Zen is very, very ritualistic, and I remember kind of going to the Zen temple in Bodh Gaya where the Buddha gained enlightenment, and the priest is really severe about us not moving when we're sitting in meditation. It's just really very ritualistic. But I think ritual, it keeps a boundary around things whereby it keeps us pointing in a particular direction. And in a way, it is about respect. It's about looking again at what might be important, what might be something to keep considering. So, but bowing and prostration is also important in Tibetan Buddhism. So, here are some. These are boards that Tibetans will use. So, when we're on pilgrimage in Bodh Gaya in India, in Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha gained enlightenment, there were lots of Tibetan monks and Western followers doing like 100,000 prostrations. So in Tibetan Buddhism, you do prostration practice, and we do this in our movement as well, where you visualize like a tree called a refuge tree, and then on the refuge tree you have all these figures that are all teachers and figures from Buddhist tradition, both archetypal and real. Real teachers. Your teacher, the Buddhas of the past, Buddhas of the present, Buddhas of the future. All the Tibetan teachers we imagine all the Tibetan teachers, Zen teachers, and Chinese teachers, and so you're imagining this, and then what the guy will do is like he will recite some verses, and then he'll prostrate on the ground, and he imagines all sentient beings behind him doing the same thing, prostrating to the Buddha. So in the preliminary practices in Tibetan Buddhism, the monk would do 100,000 prostrations. So it takes quite a while to do prostrations. I mean, we would do prostration practice. We'd do about 50 prostrations, and with the visualization, it would take, about 50 minutes or something. So, yeah. But the idea is that it's the same as the bow. It's like opening oneself up to the influence of that of the transcendental, of those figures on the tree, and the fact that it's done. So prostration is done with body, speech, and mind. So the whole of the person is involved in the prostration. That's part of the idea, really. It's like committing the whole of yourself. So you do it bodily, and you do it with your imagination. You're visualizing things, and you're saying things with your speech. Om Ah Hum, to the best of all refuges I go, and then prostrate yourself on the ground. So yeah, Tibetans are very practical, and people, monks would prostrate all the way from Lhasa to Bodh Gaya, which is hundreds and hundreds of miles. So they'd take a step, prostrate, take another step, prostrate. And I noticed that people do it in California as well. They go from Southern California to Northern California. Yeah, so I think so often when you get in a Buddhist centre, people will salute the shrine. So it's like put your hands together in what's called the Anjali mudra. So you've got your thumbs in the middle there, and to your heart. And so what you say is Namo Buddhaya, homage to the Buddha. Namo Dharmaya, homage to the Dharma, the teaching of the Buddha. Namo Sanghaya, homage to the Sangha, or community of Buddhists. Namo Nama. Om, which is symbolizes the body, speech, and mind. Om Ah Hung. And then bow. So this Anjali mudra, so Anjali just means to offer, and so when people say, you might have heard, if you're in if you go to yoga, people will say namaste, which just means bowing to you. Namas means bowing. Yes, but there's a difference between the meaning in yoga and in Buddhism. So in yoga, which comes from Hinduism, you have the idea is that when you put your hands together, it's like so yoga just means unity. Coming together, belonging, or yoke, and so when Hindus put their hands together, it's what they say. I just looked at this up this morning. It's like they're saying, so it's unity between you and I. Namaste. I see the light in myself. I see that light in you. We are the same. We are both divine beings. And the fact that you put your hand to your heart means something about universal love. And without earning it, this teacher said, without earning it, we are all worthy and are loved. Now, in a way, the Buddhism's view is very different from this. So, what we're doing in Buddhism is we're especially Tibetan Buddhism, we're representing in the middle. The thumbs represent the Chintamani. So the Chintamani is the wish fulfilling jewel. So an Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, holds the wish fulfilling jewel to his heart, and what it's saying is, it's like what's most precious to him is the welfare of all beings. So it's not there's not a focus. It's not a focus on himself as being divine. So Buddhism, all beings have the equal potential to become enlightened. They just have to work on the conditions that'll bring that about. So nobody has any divinity within them. So in a way, I think if you have an idea of divinity within yourself, it can lead to passivity. It's like you think, oh, I don't need to do anything. I'm already divine. But Buddhism isn't saying that. It's saying that we need to make the effort to be divine. We need to. Divinity is about bringing happiness to all beings. It's practical. The Buddha said the true Brahmin is the one who practices ethics. When addressing the Brahmins in his day. So the true Anjali Mudra, from a Buddhist point of view, is the one which is about the aspiration to help all beings and help them overcome suffering. Okay, so what we're going to do later is I'm going to introduce my 12-step bowing program, which I invented many years ago when I was doing my ritual book, and it's a way of just breaking down the bow or the prostration into 12 logical steps to make it something that's, when we think, when we're bowing to somebody, we're thinking, oh, am I giving my power away to this person, or am I opening myself up to abuse by just kind of bowing to them? So I think what the 12-step bowing program does is it gets rid of any, if we can make it rational, make the whole thing rational, I think, then that puts us on much more solid ground. And it is very much, as far as I'm concerned, about being open to qualities that you want to develop and that the other person might have, or you might think of them as possessing or represent. They represent that, but also that we're bowing to the potential in each other. So we all have the potential for good. And we all have the potential for respect and for awareness. So what Shunryu Suzuki was saying about bowing to cats and dogs, bowing to we're all bowing to each other, is that it's like we're opening up to the fact that other people might be able to be a good influence on. We might be able to learn from anybody and anything. So we bow to our meditation stool or meditation cushions. It's like saying thank you. I really appreciate the help that you've given me here. So I don't know. I think maybe we won't do any body work today because it might not fit in with the theme. But what we'll do is we'll just listen to some chanting, and then meditate, and then we'll go on to exploring the personal bowing practice. Okay, so if you want to just find a seat that's comfortable, so sitting on a firmish chair or meditation cushion, firm cushions on the ground, and then close your eyes. So we're going to play the Padmasambhava mantra again. So Padmasambhava brought Buddhism to Tibet. He's a very important figure in Tibetan Buddhism. And you could just think of Padmasambhava as somebody, you know, just substitute for him if you want somebody who you really respect their qualities and would like to come under their influence.
Yogi no
So just we're going to do just 10 minutes of meditation, just mindfulness of breathing. So just being aware of your breathing, of your breath coming and going. Maybe lower down in your body, watching the rising and falling of your abdomen for 10 minutes. Okay, so bring meditation to a close in your own time. Okay, so now we're going to move on to bowing, the 12-step bowing program. Yeah, so I think so. The idea, just to reiterate, the idea behind this is to break the bow down into 12 stages that just make it kind of conscious what we're trying to do. So in a way, what we're trying to do is the whole point of it all is to transform ourselves, is to become a better person in the ways that we identify ourselves. So for instance, we might think that somebody is kind of wiser than we are. We think, oh, I wish I was as wise as they are, or I wish I understood things like that, or I wish I was as friendly as they are. So we needn't kind of take things literally, that the person that we're bowing to actually has to be have better qualities than us. It's more that that's what we're, it's just the idea that we're doing this for a particular reason. We're doing it to build up qualities and things. So this is how a Buddhist bow greeting or whatever differs from maybe a Hindu or a yogic one. That it's about self-development. It's about our self-development and yeah. So in the 12-step bowing, I'll just go through the different ones. So basically, to start with, it's back to front again, isn't it? So I'll just say what they are. So step number 1 is we pick a desired quality that we want. So for instance, it might be being calm or being wise. And so step 1 is that we say to ourselves, or we admit to ourselves, I am not the calmest person in the universe. So it's very likely that we're not the calmest person in the universe, or I'm not the wisest person in the universe. So that's step 1. And then step 2 is therefore, somebody else must be the wisest or the calmest person in the universe. There will be somebody like that. And then step 3 is that so in a minute I want you to set up a little shrine, so something to bow to. It might be a Buddha, or it might be could be anything really that that brings about evokes qualities and things for you. Or you might imagine that you're bowing to another person. In your imagination that you know who that is. So step 3 is let the person or the image that you're bowing to represent that being that's the calmest or wisest person in the universe. And then step 4 is be aware of your head height compared to theirs, and let head height symbolise the greater quality, calm or wisdom, whatever it is. Step 5 is acknowledge that mentally, that they're calmer than you are. Step 6 is then do a symbolic action. So you symbolizing the fact that they're calmer than you are by lowering your head, by bowing. And then step 7 is you then consider how it would be to be as calm as they are. Step 8 is you cultivate a desire to come under their influence in that, so to be influenced by them in the area that you're interested in, like calm or wisdom. Step 9 is you make a resolve to come under their influence in this area. So it's like you say, I really want to be influenced by, try and be influenced by them in future. And then step 10 is that the quality, calm or wisdom, becomes more something on your agenda. And step 11 is that you gradually become calmer or wiser. And then step 12 is that you become as calm or as wise as they are. So what I want you to do is stand up and kind of create a shrine, or get into a space where you know what you're bowing to. Might be somebody in your imagination, or it might be an actual, like a Buddha or something like that. So I've got a shrine here that I prepared earlier. Okay. So pick your desired quality. So for me, I'm going to. What I often think about is that I think the Buddha represents. He does have a much greater understanding of conditionality. The Buddhist law of conditionality than I do. That everything arises in dependence on conditions. So that's so step 1 for me is like I'm not the person in the universe who understands best what conditionality is. Step 2. So pick your quality and just do it with these steps. I'm not the person who understands things best, or I'm not the calmest person, or whatever. 2, another being must be. 3, let the image you're bowing to represent that being. So the Buddha here is representing the person in the universe who understands conditionality best. Step 4, be aware of my head height compared to his. Don't be literal about it. If you're literally higher than, it's more about you're lowering in a minute, Step 5, mentally acknowledge the other's greater calm or understanding. So I'm mentally acknowledging the Buddha's greater understanding. 6, do the bow, so symbolically represent that greater understanding by lowering your head in relation to the image or the person. And then as you bow, step 7, consider how it would be to be as calm as the other person, or have the understanding of the other person. Step 8, desire to come under their influence in that. Step 9, make a resolve to come under their influence in this area. Step 10, calm comes more on, or the quality comes more on your agenda. Step 11, you gradually become calmer, have greater understanding. Step 12, you become as calm as they are. So I'm just going to play the mantra again. And so just do what you can, just trying to remember what those steps are. I'll repeat them again, but just do some bowing as the mantra sounds. And yeah, just try to have a sense of what you're trying to do with it, what you would like to cultivate within yourself through doing the bowing. Okay, so thank you everyone. So I will post those steps onto the page, so you can look at them in your leisure and practice bowing today if you like. Yeah, so at lunchtime UK time, we're gonna do another threefold puja on Zoom. So yeah, I'll post the details on the site, so you're very welcome. So I hope you found today interesting and helpful with your own bowing practice. You know, people do sometimes have issues with bowing. So yeah, I hope it's been helpful, and yeah, see you tomorrow. Okay, thanks, bye.